Hi everyone, I'm here with Helichrysum italicum or angustifolium, and that's going to be the topic of the live today. They are synonymous species names, and but these two came labeled. One was labeled Helichrysum angustifolium, that's this one. The other one was called Helichrysum italicum. So just for comparing the two different cultivars, I'm going to call them by their different names, but they are synonymous species names. And then today's offer, if you are shopping on the website or in the Etsy shop, it's 25% off store-wide. And let me give you the code actually. So on the website, the code is 25 Wild Vale, so code 25 Wild Vale, and then in the Etsy shop, you don't need a code. So certain things are on sale, obviously it's store-wide, so you can maybe get like the few drops or the dabs that aren't usually on sale, or other things. Some perfumes just tend not to get included in a sale, so now would be a chance to jump on that. But let's get into Helichrysum. I think I've been mispronouncing it as Helichrysum, but it's Helichrysum from what I could read online. And it comes from two Greek words or word parts, helios meaning the sun, and chryso or meaning gold. So it has golden yellow flowers. Sometimes it's called straw flower. It's in the daisy family, and the scent is contained in trichomes, which are glandular hairs on the stem leaves like here, and then somewhat in the flowers, the petals, the sepals, and the bracts of the flowers. Angustifolium, that epithet means narrow-leaved, and then italicum means of Italy. So it tends to grow mostly in the Mediterranean in sandy soil. It's drought tolerant, so good if you're in a Mediterranean climate. And it has a really unique scent. So sometimes it's called curry plant, even though it's not a curry. And it does have a curry-like aroma. And then it's also called Immortelle or everlasting. So you might see it referred to as those names. These two have really, there are some similarities in their aroma, and there's kind of like, sometimes it's said to have a maple syrup aroma. I think of it as like a cider donut aroma, but the maple syrup is definitely there. So this kind of sweeter, like high-toned, almost like a ketonic aroma. And then of these two, they both have that like maple syrup donut gourmand quality. And some people I've heard say it kind of, the essential oil kind of has a smokiness to it. I think that's kind of like the richness in it. It doesn't seem directly smoky to me, but there is this like very rich, like honeyed flavor, which when like the sweetness is so concentrated, it can kind of convey smoke, if that makes sense. But this one, the angustifolium, and again, they're synonymous species from what I've read, but they did come from different nurseries and were labeled differently. So this one's the angustifolium. It has a more like powdery and blurry scent. Like the different facets of it are not as pronounced as in this variety. And so it's got kind of a soft, fresh aroma, like slightly like green, spring-like. And then it has that maple syrup, like, but more of a powdered donut scent. So less of like a cider donut, more of like a confectioner's sugar scent. And then this one, the italicum, and you can see it's not as thickly leaved. It's more sharply faceted into different aromas that are more clearly separated from each other. And so there's this like lemon fruity, like a fruity lemon encrustation almost, like a lemon drop candy, or like the concentrated lemony aroma of lemon curd. And then it's followed by this rosemary or herbal scent. And then the maple syrup or cider donut, this is more of a cider donut, but it's in the background. And it's kind of tickling my nose. This one is more of that fuzzy, like maple syrup scent. This one's very much fruitier. And the aromatic constituents in this plant, so it has, not aromatic, it has italicum in it, which supposedly is not contained in other species of Helichrysum, and that's purportedly responsible for some of the anti-inflammatory and wound healing aspects of the plant. And then aromatically, it contains cineole, which is also called eucalyptol. And that has like a camphoraceous, spicy, warm, but also cooling scent that you find in different types of plants that are called camphor. Obviously eucalyptus, many species of eucalyptus, as well as, interestingly enough, butterfly ginger lily, which I talked about in a recent live, and different types of sage, including, and this isn't an actual salvia, but Artemisia tridentata, which is big basin sagebrush or big sagebrush. And then it also contains alpha-curcumene, which you might be able to tell from the name, is also present and responsible for the flavor of turmeric. It's also in ginger and rosemary, which rosemary is now its genus name is salvia, so it's technically a sage. And then, so there's a slight rosemary in both of these. And then it also contains alpha-pinene, which again is kind of evident from the name. It has a pine-like aroma. It's a terpene. And then Helichrysum, italicum, and angustifolium also have neryl acetate, which is responsible for that kind of that sweet tropical aroma. Neryl acetate can smell like orange blossom or pear, as well as tropical fruit. So you can kind of see, imagine that combination of, especially like the pear with the indolic and honey and tea-like aroma of the orange blossom mixed with like a tropical pineapple aroma could create like a maple syrup type sweetness. So really interesting plant aromatically. I use it in a number of perfumes. I have a Helichrysum soliflor. I feel like I kept mispronouncing it throughout the video, so I apologize. And then my perfume Everlasting mixes this plant with Palo Santo, as well as rose and oak moss, to kind of give like a mossy, woodsy interpretation, almost like a sunrise, because I combined the Helios, the sun aspect of the Helichrysum, with this rosiness to kind of create like a sunrise feeling. So just a little bit on this plant. Really recommend having it in your garden. It's pretty aromatic. When you walk by it or brush against it, it releases its aroma. It's not an aroma for everyone. I definitely have some clients who like to avoid this because it's got such a maple syrup smell. But if you like that scent, I definitely recommend having this plant in your garden. So I hope you enjoyed this.